What's up guys, I'm J-Man, and let's talk about one of the most popular movie franchises in the world, the Terminator series. Or at least the first two. Said to be some of the greatest sci-fi movies ever created. Not only did they have great special effects that still hold up today, not only did they have the most badass action scenes ever on film, but they were the most original, creative, and even deepest movies that actually made us think. Now, we've all heard everything there is to know about these movies. The idea of human nature that we will all eventually destroy ourselves, our over-reliance on technology, the obvious biblical references, etc, etc, etc. But I think there's actually more to them than even all of that stuff. Let's look at them from a strictly symbolic perspective. This is... So basically, everything that happens in the future is a direct result of everything that happens in the present. I know that may sound like an obvious statement, but just bear with me here. What if the Terminators actually represent the demons of the main characters? In the first one, the main character is Sarah Connor, the Mary figure who will give birth to the world's savior. But as a person, she kinda has a lowly existence. She's clumsy, she has the worst luck with men, and she's so unorganized she said she can't even balance her own checkbook. So from a narrative standpoint, what if all the other characters represent something about her? What if the Terminator is the embodiment of her low self-esteem that's bringing her down, and Kyle Reese is the embodiment of her strong nature trying to break out? It would make some sense because whenever she's with the Terminator, she's scared for her life, but when she's with Kyle, she gets tough and rebellious. Kyle at one point gives her a message that John made him memorize, about being stronger than she imagines she is. In that same scene, they discover that Kyle is shot, and without even knowing what she's doing, starts dressing his wound. And apparently she does pretty good at it too.
It's a good field dressing.
You like it? It's my first.
Later, Kyle goes out for supplies and gives her a gun. She immediately puts it down, but picks it back up, showing her finally learning to pick up her courage and inner strength. It should be noted that at the very end of the movie when she's driving in her Jeep, she carries a gun. She finally has her inner strength at that point. Eventually, Kyle gets shot, and she literally has to be strong for the both of them. Soon, Kyle gives his own life. This is necessary because he's no longer needed to make her strong. Now it's up to her to be strong on her own. The remains of the Terminator chase her when she's wounded. When she has it trapped, it reaches for her, and yet, she doesn't cower or whimper in fear or anything. Instead, she fiercely reaches for the button to end the Terminator, and does so with 3 badass words.
You're a terminated fucker!
Sarah has now killed her low self-esteem and is a new woman. Albeit incomplete, but she has an inner strength that not even a cold killing machine can take from her. The film ends with her driving off into the future that she is now brave enough to face. In T2, the phrase that they keep repeating throughout the film is, "The future is not set. There is no fate but what we make for ourselves." The main characters in this one are John and Sarah. When we first meet John, he's an arrogant, cocky teenager who has no respect for authority and completely dismisses his mother, Sarah, as a complete psycho after she attempted to blow up a building. He's never had a good parental figure in his life, and he disbelieves the stories about Skynet and Terminators and him being the savior of mankind. When we see Sarah again, she's on the brink of losing her own humanity, having outrageous episodes in the psych ward where she's being held, shouting vulgar curses and even getting violent with the doctors there. When she meets up with John again, she doesn't even treat him like a son, but more like a figure of great importance. Throughout these movies, Skynet has always had one main objective. You may think it's to kill John and Sarah, but that was always just a means to an end. Their main purpose was always to ensure their own existence. In a way, the T-1000 is the representation of what Sarah is becoming. When she sets out to kill Miles Dyson, the person she blames for the destruction of humanity, she acts just like a Terminator herself, willing to take a life no matter what the cost. It's only when she sees his family that she realizes that she's becoming just like them, a cold killer willing to take a life to ensure something's existence. The The T-800 is two things in this story. He's the father figure that John has always needed in his life, as well as the living proof that his mother was right. He's also the symbol of hope for Sarah that renews her faith in humanity. So just like the first one, what happens in the future is a direct result of what happens in the present. If the T-1000 and 800 hadn't shown up, then Skynet would still be born, and John would not be a good resistance leader since he neglected his own destiny. Until his destiny came looking for him. James Cameron himself even said that the turning point for John was seeing the Terminator almost kill someone and suddenly realizing that lives are at stake, so maybe he does need to step up and become something of a leader. Above all, this movie is not just about hope for humanity, it's also about family. Our family is our humanity. It brings out the best in all of us. Sarah and John act the way they do at the beginning because family is what they lack. John's foster parents are careless at what they do, and Sarah is being prevented from being with her son. The T-800 is the glue that brings them both together. When it gives its life, you could argue that it was just being logical, but it's actually meant to be a very selfless act by the Terminator that restores Sarah's faith in humanity, as well as the humanity within herself.
Because if a machine, a Terminator, can learn the value of human life, maybe we can too.
Until the next few sequels come out and ruin the franchise completely. So those are my thoughts on the Terminator movies. Now tell me, what do you find interesting about them? Whatever it is, don't be shy, leave a reply. Also be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter and support me on Patreon if you'd be so kind. And if you like this video, you can like, comment, and subscribe to the J-Man. And support me on Patreon if you'd be so kind. And if you like this video, you can like, comment, and subscribe to the J-Man. No, I'm not using that.